Hi, this is Chris Knight, and I'm going to take you on a short walkthrough of an online teaching portfolio. I am deeply indebted to my wife Renata, who let me use her portfolio for this. This is her welcome page, so this is where you go if you go to her portfolio, which anyone can do, lrtportfolio.wordpress.com. She's not protected it at this point. And just when you first get here, you see this is a welcome page. It's got some information about her and her interests. And then across the top, you have a menu of the major sections of the portfolio. So this is her curriculum development highlights page. Now everything on the highlights page she actually has crafted herself. There's no blog technology here. This is all things that she has chosen to put on this page, and this page stays like this until she changes it. So she's pointing out her work developing the clinician educator pathway, developing the preclinic conference curriculum for her Harborview Student Evening Clinic, and some outpatient teaching for residents. Looking at another highlights page, let's switch to the page for student teaching, and I'll use the menu on the right just for variety. And here you can see she describes her teaching activities in Student Evening Clinic. So these highlights pages are intended to be the presentation portfolio. This is the stuff that she really wants to call attention to, and you can see she includes things like thank you notes from students here, and just brief description of the various things that she does. Now, to look at some of the more detailed things, you can go to the portfolio archive, and this is where the blog function of WordPress comes into play. This is not something that you have to do an online portfolio. If all you want is an online presentation portfolio, you could simply fill out the highlights pages and be done. The reason why the archives are helpful is to sort of help you add to the portfolio and use it in a more developmental way. So looking at her portfolio archives, let's take a look at her teaching activities there. And here you see that she was working as an evaluator for our OSCEs in August 2013, another one in May 2013, and in March. And what you can see here is that these are not ornate, these are not embellished, these are just ways for her to keep track of the things that she's doing. By comparison, this dizziness talk was actually a fairly detailed thing relative to being an OSCE evaluator. So if we click on that, you can see the whole dizziness entry. This is a model of the semicircular canals that she used for the talk. And these are the evaluations. So the combination of the highlights pages and the archive pages is an effort to try and get both aspects of a teaching portfolio, both the things that you want people to see for presentation purposes, and then also if you want to explore things in more depth, you can look at the archives. Like I said, you don't have to use the archives at all. And the other thing that you can do is you can create things in the archives but leave them unpublished so that you have a way of keeping track, but it doesn't actually ever show up on your blog. So as an example of how to do that, I will actually take you to my portfolio right over here, which this is my didactic teaching page. So I have here a thing for an R1 primary care block talk that I gave on hypertension, and I'm actually going to add something to give you a sense of how you do that. So I'll go down here and I'm going to log in, and it takes me to my dashboard, and I'm going to add a post. So this is actually going to be a post for a workshop that I did for our R2s as part of their clinician teacher blog. I will cut and paste it in. So this is a description, time, who's it for, what methods did I use to teach, who did I work with, what were my learning objectives. Then later I can put in what the evaluations were for the workshop, and then just a brief reflection what I thought about doing it. And then over here I will assign it a category. Let's call this is actually more didactic teaching than curriculum development, although I could argue it's a little bit of both. So I'll assign it to didactic teaching. And then up here, I can say Save Draft. And now that I've saved that, it's there for me to go back to whenever I want. So if I want to go back and refer to this later, I have it. If I want people to be able to see it on the site, I just hit the Publish button, and then I can go back to my didactic teaching page. And here it is at the top of the page, Published. So you can use this as a way of keeping track of things and then choose what you do and don't want to actually publish to your portfolio. And then you can also choose what you do and don't want to put in your portfolio highlights pages. So it's a little bit complicated to do all of that. So if you just want to use portfolio highlights, that's totally fine. But I introduced that so that it has a little bit more of developmental aspects as well as presentation aspects. I hope that helps a little bit to clarify how the online portfolio concept works and what it looks like in action. And if you have any questions, feel free to look at my blog posts or just email me. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.